On October 20th, 2025, the world was jolted awake, not by war, but by a single line from Beijing. China announced a 1,000% tariff on all rare earth exports, a direct response to Washington's latest tariffs. Global markets froze. Futures in New York, London, and Tokyo plunged. This wasn't a negotiation, it was an economic blockade. Rare earths power everything from smartphones to fighter jets. Overnight, China turned off the tap. The message: if the US wanted a trade war, China would set the terms. Years of escalating tariffs had led to this moment. Washington believed in its economic dominance, but misjudged China's resolve. The US overlooked a critical vulnerability. China wasn't just the world's factory, it was its mine. Chaos erupted. Emergency meetings in Washington, frantic calls in Silicon Valley, and dread in Europe and Japan. This was no longer about trade imbalances. It was a fight for technological supremacy and the future global order. China had made a move the West was unprepared for. The world changed overnight. The tariff was the climax of a deepening US-China rivalry. What began as economic competition is now a strategic contest. Technology, finance, diplomacy, ideology. Unlike the first Cold War, the US and China are deeply intertwined. America once promised stability, but that idea is now dangerously outdated. The ties that once bound are now weapons. Trump's America First doctrine escalated tariffs, hoping to force change in China. Beijing retaliated, and a tit-for-tat cycle began. Each side targeted the other's key exports: soybeans, electronics, cars. Washington underestimated China's ability to absorb pain and plan strategically. China's 1,000% tariff is asymmetric, targeting America's technological foundation. This isn't about protecting industry, it's about crippling a rival. The era of manageable trade disputes is over. Economic warfare has begun. The world must now choose sides in a struggle that will define the century. To grasp China's power, you must understand rare earths. 17 metals essential to modern life. They're not rare, but hard and dirty to process. The world let China do the work. This was a strategic blunder. While the West focused on finance and software, China built a near monopoly on the building blocks of the future. China controls over 85% of rare earth processing and nearly all heavy rare earths for defense. This dominance is no accident. It's the result of decades of state strategy. Beijing subsidized mining, tolerated pollution, and undercut foreign competitors. The world became addicted to cheap Chinese rare earths. China has used this leverage before, cutting off Japan in 2010 during a territorial dispute. The West tried to diversify, but efforts fizzled as soon as prices dropped. Now, the alarm is ringing again. Louder than ever, China has spent years consolidating control, integrating mining, processing, and manufacturing into a closed, state-controlled loop. The West's focus on short-term profits and regulations left the door open. China walked right through and now holds the keys. Your smartphone is a marvel of rare earths. Europium for color, neodymium for magnets, cerium for glass. Imagine those components suddenly 10 times more expensive, if available at all. The business model of consumer electronics would collapse. This dependency goes far beyond gadgets. The green energy revolution, wind turbines, electric vehicles, relies on Chinese rare earths. Without them, the West's climate goals stall. That goodwill from Beijing? Gone. The stakes are even higher for national security. Modern military hardware, missiles, radars, fighter jets, depends on rare earths. By cutting off supply, China isn't just targeting the US economy, it's challenging US military superiority. These elements enable miniaturization and efficiency, making things smaller, faster, stronger. They're the invisible foundation of our high-tech world. Their absence now reveals their true importance. The journey from a mountain in Inner Mongolia to a motherboard in California is the story of globalization, now blockaded. The tariff hit Silicon Valley like an earthquake. Tech giants, Apple, Google, Tesla, saw their stocks plummet. Their global supply chains shattered overnight. Emergency meetings revealed a terrifying truth. There was no plan B. Apple warned of halting iPhone production. Tesla's future was in doubt. Just-in-time supply chains became liabilities. Startups and labs faced ruin. Innovation itself was under siege. Venture capitalists pulled back, uncertain of the future. The digital world's foundation was physical, and now broken. The masters of tech were brought back to earth. Financial markets reacted with panic. The Dow plunged 3,000 points. The Nasdaq fared even worse. Circuit breakers halted trading. The VIX soared. This was no correction. It was chaos. The crisis spread globally. London, Frankfurt, Tokyo all suffered historic losses. Automakers, aerospace, and medical manufacturers were hit hard. No one was safe. Supply chain failures cascaded across industries. Central banks could cut rates, but they couldn't print neodymium. Monetary policy was powerless against a physical shortage. Inflation loomed for scarce goods alongside economic contraction, stagflation. In China, rare earth companies soared. Beijing had insulated its market. The tariff crippled rivals and strengthened China's position. The Great Decoupling had begun, on China's terms. In Washington, disbelief turned to grim resolve. Emergency meetings revealed a national security crisis. The US had been outmaneuvered, its vulnerability exposed. The blame game faded as leaders scrambled for solutions. Reopening the Mountain Pass mine was considered, but mining and processing rare earths takes years and billions. The US lacks processing capacity, a monumental gap. Diplomatic efforts ramped up. The US proposed a rare earth alliance with allies. Allies were wary, knowing any solution would take years. Factories faced imminent shutdowns. Retaliatory options were limited. Most Chinese goods were already tariffed. Targeting China's access to US finance or semiconductors risked escalation. Every response was too slow, costly, or dangerous. For the first time in a generation, America's options were severely limited. China's tariff has reshuffled the global chessboard. The post-Cold War era, defined by US primacy and economic integration, is over. The world is fragmenting into rival blocs. China and its resources, the US and its allies. Nations everywhere are forced to choose sides. Beijing offers rare earths and markets. Washington offers security and values. The new non-alignment is about technology and supply chains, not ideology. Global institutions like the WTO are powerless. The world is splitting into separate technology stacks. The era of hyper-globalization is over. The great fragmentation has begun. The world is now a more divided and dangerous place. As the dust settles, the world faces unsettling questions. Is this the end of the American century? Has the US ceded the future to China? The crisis is economic, but the real battle is for power and the rules of the future. The comfortable assumptions of the past are gone. The path forward demands unity, sacrifice, and real partnership among allies. Can the West muster the will, or will it fracture under pressure? China's move is bold, but risky. It may unite the world against it. We stand at a historic inflection point. The global system is gone. Competition and conflict are the new reality. The choices made now will shape the 21st century.